bit of an echo going on there. I think Rob's in the background sorting that out. But welcome everybody to the Mercedes-Benz Brisbane dealership. Thank you so much for having us. Big thank you to Claire for bringing this all together. Ken for joining us on the chair here, who's the dealer principal of Mercedes-Benz Brisbane. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you.
And we've got Andrew Beckett here and Mr. Higgs over there on the left there.
So we're just trying to get rid of some of Ian's little nerves at the moment.
A little bit nervous, yeah. This is the first time we've done a live stream to this many people. But Ken's going to give us a chat about the LSH Auto Group, and then we're going to chat to Peter Hackett as well about this new beautiful piece of machinery on the right-hand side here. I think we might start with a couple of drinks from the Range Bar. Ken, do you want a drink or?
Oh, yeah, if everyone's having one.
Yeah, I'm going to have a lager.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Yep. Yeah. Cheers, Jim.
Yeah, thank you to Jim. Ken, do you want to give us a bit of a spiel about the LSH Auto Group and Mercedes-Benz Brisbane? This building is absolutely phenomenal. This is probably the second or third time that I've been here, and every time I come here, I'm just amazed. So do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on the building, the group, the Mercedes-Benz dealership in Brisbane in particular, and what part you play in all of that?
No, thank you very much. Firstly, welcome everyone for joining us for this live stream, and thank you for this opportunity. The LSH Group is the largest Mercedes-Benz retailer in the world. About 15% of all Mercedes-Benz cars get sold by one of our outlets around the world. In Australia, we've got the three dealerships across Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, which is where we are all today. I'm very, very proud to be the dealer principal here for Brisbane because it is the largest Mercedes-Benz dealership in the Southern Hemisphere. And I mean, take a look around. This is the state of the art. You know, where we are today, we're on the AMG Performance Centre. It's probably the only that has a dedicated floor across Australia. If you go up one level, we've got our service reception, which is more like a hotel-like reception as you come in. There we also have our EQ gallery, which is also one of the first in Australia. We were one of the first EQ dealers. Little fact is that Mercedes-Benz now has over 7 EQ or EVs across its range, which is one of the largest. It is the largest in Australia, I think, in terms of range. And then you keep going. The uniqueness about this building is it's not just a dealership. We call it the lifestyle precinct because we only occupy 70% of this tenancy. Level 3, we've got a great tenant there called Function Well, which is a health and wellness centre. There's a full production kitchen. There's a melee cooking school. And then after you've done all that, you've had a great time, come to level 4, which is our main showroom. And it is an indoor 40-car display showroom. Pretty special and a pretty unique delivery bay, which I'll keep a secret. You'll see it after you buy a car from us.
Is that something that you do keep to yourself?
No, look, we do show customers, but it is a bit of a moment of wow when they see the delivery bay. I think you boys have had the chance to see it. I think when you go through those sliding doors, pretty special, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's worth buying a car for.
Thank you.
How long have you had this establishment for? How new is it?
This establishment was built by our group from ground up. So we bought the land and we moved in back in 2019 June. I was lucky enough to be the first appointed dealer principal here. I started in 2020 and it's been a fantastic journey in the last 3.5 years. Yeah,
that's awesome.
What does a dealer principal job encompass? What do you actually do on a day-to-day?
Okay. Oh, that's an interesting question.
Coffee first.
Coffee first. Speaking of coffee, we've got a great partnership with St. Ali, a fantastic coffee brand in Australia. So whenever you come in, we provide that service as well. Definitely coffee first. I love my coffee. But the day never goes as planned for me as a dealer principal, I would say. One thing I'd say, and it's something I echo through all my team, is customer first. Because without customers, we have nothing. And this building is fantastic, but what we pride ourselves on first and foremost is the customer service that we offer. When customers walk away and say, I felt like I've been in a 5-star hotel, that's when I have a yes moment, I guess. So, yeah, it's all about the customers.
We can definitely relate to that because outside of this, we also have a customer service business as well. And hearing those reports, I can understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
But what I noticed first when I came here today, particularly this morning to help set up, was the service and the welcoming from everyone was second to none. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you. So, yeah, that's a day. But look, as a dealer principal, I'm responsible for, I guess, the whole business in Brisbane, which includes the only authorised auto body repairer in Brisbane. We've got a Eagle Farm Service Centre, which looks after a lot of commercial vehicles. We're very proud to service a lot of the ambulances across Brisbane, a lot of the Army Defence Force vehicles. And further to that, in Fortitude Valley, near James Street, we've still got a pre-owned centre, which is one of the largest as well. And being not often do you go to a used car centre where it's under roof. So we've got about 30 cars on display under roof there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I picked up on you saying before that there's 7 EQ models
Yes.
within the Mercedes range at the moment.
Absolutely.
Released, all available for sale? Or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
wow. And you said it's the most EQ selection that's available with any manufacturer in the world?
I
or?
believe so. I mean, we even have EQV. Like when I last checked, I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but we've got vans that are fully electric now as well. 2 weeks ago, we launched the latest EQE SUV and EQS SUV, which is a 7-seater SUV.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a huge range. It starts from an EQA, B, C, and then ES, and then you got the vans. And on top of that, we've also got the AMG variants, like the EQE AMG 53 and the EQS. And I think some of them went on the road today on the test
well,
drive.
I was lucky enough to
drive.
drive that today.
Same.
Yeah, phenomenal
It's
car.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
It is extremely impressive vehicle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Might need a detail after today.
And some
Yeah.
brake pads.
Yeah, no, it was a super impressive car. Like we're all car guys. We drive supercars, and I've got a GLC 63, and
Yes.
first time in an EV, and yeah, seriously impressive. Just the way it takes off and handles. It's super impressive car. So
No, absolutely.
I didn't think I'd be saying that.
yeah.
Honestly.
He's the biggest petrol head out of all of us. And when he first left the dealership earlier on today, he was just like a kid in a candy shop. Like his eyes lit up, and he goes, "I actually chuckled for a little bit just there," and I just got myself laughing. I was like, "Man, this thing's a
glad you
monster."
enjoyed it.
So,
Yeah, Mercedes are doing a really, really good job with the EVs.
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we got to Wivenhoe Dam, and Claire very kindly loaned me the
C43.
C43 AMG.
Yes.
And by the time we got to Wivenhoe Dam, I was jealous that Andy had the EQE.
Yeah,
Which
the
says a
EQE
lot.
Yeah, the EQE AMG is one of my
Have you got a
favourite, yeah.
particular favourite car in the range?
Yeah, I do actually at the moment, because I am also a bit of a petrol head, I must say. I love my V8. But
Yep.
right now my favourite would be the GT63 E-Performance, which is with us here tonight. The reason is it's the best of both worlds. It's still got the traditional V8, but added to it an electric motor. And can I say, I've never driven anything like it before. The acceleration is phenomenal when you have electric power behind a V8.
Yeah. Well, I actually got to drive that one back.
Petrol head, I must say. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Right.
So I got the
Right
best of
now
both
my
worlds, and
favourite
yeah,
is
like
the
hell of a
GT.
car. Just the
Hell of a
EV just behind that petrol twin turbo
Absolutely.
just really hammers it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
no, it's thanks for letting us drive your cars too. We
Oh, thank you.
certainly appreciate it. It was a privilege to drive a car that's not even really released
Yep.
to the public yet. So
No,
appreciate
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
But we're gonna get Peter on to talk about that too.
Yeah, we might swap you out for Peter Hackett, Ken, and he can give us a bit more of a rundown on the on this piece of automotive machinery right here. Tell us about his motorsport history,
you, guys.
and we'll go from there.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ken.
thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, mate. Yeah. And then just
Hello.
Welcome, Pete.
Straight down. Righto.
It's
Welcome.
going to be
Thank you.
nice and close.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks,
You're asking questions. I'm
thanks
just
for joining
answering, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, mate. So,
Anytime.
So, Peter, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on your history in motorsport and how you've come up into the LSH group and the Mercedes-Benz Brisbane group, and how you've managed to become the chief driving instructor for AMG?
Well, that's quite a story. I'm 23 years with Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes AMG now this year. So I've been around a long time with our brand, and I guess that's really testament to the products that we've been able to develop. People always say, you know, why have you been around so long? And it's because I think mostly the cars are so incredibly capable in so many aspects of life.
Yeah.
We know about the safety, we know about the efficiency, we know about the comfort, and people are starting to learn about the performance when it comes to AMG, and there's always something that's being innovated, something that's coming along that's new that keeps me interested. And I get the opportunity, fortunately, through work to just push buttons and play with the cars and come up with my own ways of trying to explain how they behave to customers and then kind of influence them a little bit in what they're seeing and feeling. I was pretty lucky as a kid. In motorsport, you need loads of cash if you want to be successful. So you're either from the lucky sperm club or you're just really good. And I wasn't part of the first one. I was fortunate enough just to be okay. My dad was a pilot with Qantas, and he had a little bit of disposable income, but not enough to spend real money on go-karting. I mean, the kids these days, 8-year-olds, are spending $150,000 a year just on go-karting from 8. And that's just to run at a national level.
That's a lot of lemonade to sell on the side of the street.
Yeah, literally on the side of the road. So, you know, we dabbled in go-karts, and we started in motocross actually. Dad liked his bikes. He liked to tinker with chains and things like that. And then the Crusty Demons came along, you know, and people started doing triples and tabletops. And I think Mum might have looked at them at some point and gone, "You guys are going to kill yourself.
Yeah,
We got to
you
get
need a
4
roll
wheels."
cage.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of months in go-karts, and Dad had a bit of a crash, and someone came up over the top and accelerated over. He said he had this big black mark on his helmet. And he said, "I need a roll cage."
Yeah.
Datsun 1600. That's where we started. A couple of club sprints, and I'll never forget. I think I was 15 or 16, and we were at Oran Park actually, and Dad said, "Here, do you want to have a go?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Don't crash it." And I think I went 3.5 seconds quicker than him in the first session. And he said, "You never drive in my car again." But at that point, I kind of got hooked and ended up at the Jim Russell Racing Driver School. So Peter Finlay was a race driver school. Quite literally, you would pay, I think it was $800 to learn to be a race driver and drive a Formula Ford and crash through the gearbox and do things like that. And at the end of that Peter Finlay program, he was part of a worldwide scholarship which had places like Skip Barber and the programs in the US and Jim Russell in the UK. And I ended up deciding that's what I wanted to do. So Mum said, "You have to finish school first." And literally I sold everything I had. I had a set of golf clubs because I was quite keen on my golf at that point. A set of Ping Eye 2s if there's any golfers out there, Beryllium Copper Pluses. And literally packed a bag and a helmet, and I legged it to the UK, and I went looking for a place called Luga Baruga. But Luga Baruga in England is actually called Loughborough. And so I'm standing at the train station at King's Cross St Pancras asking for this place, and they're like, "You're a crazy Aussie, where are you trying to get to?" And I was trying to get to Donington Park because that's where the Jim Russell Racing Driver School was based. And I paid my money and I did my week's training so that I could get a certificate to say that you're a race driver. And the guys at the end of the day said, "Hey, you know, you've done all right. Why don't you enter the race at the end of the week? We'll subsidize your racing." And I had a really good result. I won by quite a bit in the first race I did with Jim Russell. And then every month they run the program, and at the end of the year they put all their 12 winners together and they go for the World Scholarship. So people from Turkey, people from Israel, people from America, they all just pile in to try and win a factory seat. And I did this deal with Jim Russell. I had no money. I was completely skint, living in a truck, stealing bread rolls from the cafeteria to try and pay to make my way. And they said, "We'll teach you to be an instructor. We'll put any money that you earn towards a racing budget that you can then use in our school races for the rest of the year. And if you work 150 days that are left in the year, you get 100 quid a day. That pays for your racing, and you can do the World Scholarship." And then I won the World Scholarship. So I was General Motors or Vauxhall's factory driver in Vauxhall Junior. And then I did Formula Vauxhall, did some touring car stuff. And basically you get to Formula 3. And Formula 3 in the UK is $1 million. And I was still skint. So came back to Australia with my tail between my legs and did Formula 3 here. I was lucky enough to win that. Went to Macau, raced at Macau against some quite famous Formula 1. In fact, I think 15 of the grid that I did Macau with actually went to Formula 1. I finished 7th, I think, 6th or 7th, which kind of surprised a few people. And then after that, I signed a deal to do International 3000 based in Prague. So I legged it back to Europe. And I was based in Prague in a place called Barandov, which is the film district of Prague. And we did a deal. It was $800,000. I'll never forget. It was $800,000 US dollars to drive for the year, and I'd raised $400,000 from my sponsor in Australia, who we'll get to shortly. She's a stalwart, and her car's just stuck it on pole at Mount Panorama today. So congratulations to Betty for the top 10 shootout. But she was very clever. She said, I'll pay the second half of the bill. I'm not paying the first half of the bill.
Yeah.
And we had someone that made a promise. We had a handshake. We had a contract, and they just didn't turn up. So I'm living in Prague. The team's waiting for a budget. And then I came home again. And I was very lucky at that point because Paul Stokel was running in the Diablo GTR in the Australian Pro Car Series in the Nations Cup Championship. And he was fighting tooth and nail with Peter Brock and Nathan Pretty and John Bowe, in fact, in those days. And they needed kind of like a rear gunner that would take some points off the others, a bit like Sergio Perez is supposed to be doing for Max, but not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
And they just needed someone to try and get some points off the others so Paul could jump ahead. And I'll never forget, I was at the Gold Coast. My first race with Lambo was at the Gold Coast in a Diablo GTR, and I qualified third or fourth right-hand side of the grid, and there was Stokel in pole, Nathan Pretty in second, then there was myself, and then Peter Brock, actually in a red Monaro parked beside me. And I remember it was a delayed start, so we popped the door on the Diablo. It's left-hand drive, the Monaro was right-hand drive. And I'm just sitting there absolutely shitting myself. Like, it's Gold Coast in front of 300,000 people, and I got Peter Brock sitting beside me, and I'm sweating, and I'm nervous. And I look across, and Brocky in his open-face helmet just looks across and goes, gives you the thumbs up, like we're gonna have a great race. Let's get out there, kind of thing. So
Yep.
that led to the 24-hour race at Bathurst with Lamborghini, which was an extraordinary experience, belting across the top in a Diablo, and down Conrod, we were somewhere between 300 and 315. We didn't know because we had an analog speedo. It was shaking so much, like most Italian cars do, that we couldn't tell how fast we were going. And then I formed a really strong relationship with Betty. In fact, Betty and I, we started a race team called Erebus Motorsport. Erebus Racing it was for us, and then they've developed into Erebus Motorsport. And we raced a Lambo Gallardo in the Australian GT3 Championship, and then had a crash at Sandown, destroyed the car. And it was just this moment in time, this really strange window where I was working for Mercedes AMG, and they didn't have a customer racing program. And at the last race at Sandown, destroyed the car, and Mercedes AMG announced that the SLS GT3 was coming to town. And I said to Betty, why don't we use some contacts? Why don't we step away from Lambo and try and get an SLS? And AMG had this customer racing program that was focused in Europe. They were particularly focused on making sure that before they went global, that they could facilitate a proper racing program for customers in Germany effectively. And I went back through some of my contacts and said, hey, look, we're in Australia, we're in the middle of nowhere. If you can make it work with us as a satellite operation on the other side of the world, then you can actually make it happen anywhere. And if it fails, nobody's going to know because it's only Australia, so don't worry about it. And quite literally, they said, well, that's worth rolling the dice for. So we ended up with the first SLS GT3 outside of Europe. And a lot of people remember the chrome SLS with the orange highlights that we ran at places like Mount Panorama, and had great success with the SLS, and that led to the GT3. And all the time I've been working from...
Ultimately led to this exact moment in time.
This
where
exact
we get
moment
to
in
talk
time.
about this machine right here. So
That's the shortened version.
GT63S. Cool. Well, we've only got a short amount of time too, so...
extraordinary. Like this is I was just explaining to a couple of the guests that are here tonight. In my opinion, it's almost too fast for Australia. We're talking about a car with 620 kilowatts. It's got 831 horsepower, more than 1,400 newton meters of torque, four-wheel drive, four-wheel steer, 0 to 100 in 2.9 seconds. And the way that it delivers the power, the way that it, in my experience, I've had one for the last 2 weeks. Things just ballistic, absolutely mind-numbingly fast.
It doesn't give up.
No, it just doesn't stop. I was lucky. I've driven it on the track actually at Sandown last week. We were shaking it down for a press event we've got at Sydney Motorsport Park coming up, and then we're at Phillip Island with customers in these cars in November. But I was seeing top speeds in this the same as the AMG GT3 race car.
Really?
In the wet with a lift through the kink on the back straight, and just the ride control over some of the bumps, the way that the 4MATIC system was working at over 160 k's, there's like a little bit of a bump, and you can feel the thing trying to wheel spin and lift and turn, and
Yeah.
just say grabs your attention.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, extraordinary.
Almost a race car for the street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fast. It's the most powerful production engine that, not including the AMG one, which is 750 kilowatts. This is the most powerful AMG engine that we produce and have produced in series production. So, you know, to be able to have that sort of power with that power delivery, that styling, and the warranty that you get with it is just extraordinary. If we were able to travel from Melbourne to Sydney without, or Brisbane to Sydney without draconian speed laws, that's the car that you do it in.
That's the one you do
Great
it in
Ocean
about
Road.
2 hours, yeah?
You'd never fly again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Built
Yeah,
for the
that's
autobahn.
funny. We were at a track day on Wednesday just gone, and there was some cars there, top tier supercars, and 1,400 newton meters. You said 1,400 newton meters of torque?
More than.
That's more than them. Way
Yeah, but you know, like the EQE53, which Ken just spoke about before, one of the first electric cars that AMG's bringing to the marketplace. I mean, this is a hybrid. This is electrified. And I think it's important to understand that for AMG, Mercedes-Benz is one side of the equation, but the reason that AMG is electrifying their performance vehicles in conjunction with an ICU, internal combustion engine, is just for speed. It's just for performance. And the battery technology that's in this car, that's in the incoming C63, is straight out of the Formula One project. I mean, we're talking about an always-on strategy where the battery's always available, rapid deployment of the battery, rapid charging. In this particular car, you know, quite literally, as I said, I like to play with the buttons, and you can plug it in. There's a charging port at the back, but you know, I found that after depleting the battery on the road, just in comfort mode, using the electric mode, so you only it's a 6.1 kilowatt battery, so you only really get 11 kilowatts of electrification in terms of driving. So that should allude to the fact already that it's not designed to drive as an electric vehicle. You get 11 Ks in it, right? So, but it'll start in electric, so you get that really seamless movement. But in race mode, on cruise control, on the freeway, you can go from zero battery to complete battery or full battery charge in about 90 seconds. And you don't do anything any differently. It's just on cruise control in race mode. And each of those modes has a different recuperation strategy. And that's one of the other cool things about these electrified cars as you move forward. It's almost like there's more toys to play with out there. You know, we watch Lewis and we watch George and we hear the stories about Strat 2 and Strat 3 and regen strategy this, but they're in this car. So quite literally the satellites on the steering wheel that you would use to change from comfort to Sport Plus to race, if you actually push the center of that button, it goes into a regen strategy for Sport and Sport Plus. And you can adjust the level of retardation, essentially, that increases the battery charge whether you're just lifting off the throttle or actually applying the brake. So stage 3 or stage 4, I should say, in this particular car is almost like one pedal driving. So as you lift off the gas, it almost applies the brakes, and that deceleration charges the battery. To be fair, the EQE53, the EQS53, all of the EQ brands, when you use the paddles, which go into strong recuperation or no recuperation, they're much more aggressive than the stages that you find in this. But in race mode, you don't have the adjustability because the mapping system, the way that the throttle works, the way that the brake pedal works, absolutely just charges that battery instantly. And I think for anybody that tracks cars like this, especially with electrification, the feel of the brake pedal, the way that it generates charge in that initial application, and the depth of the pedal is kind of the challenge that we're going to have as we move towards track day cars. But we've been hearing this for years in F1. We hear Lewis and George talk about changing the pedal feel and changing the regen.
Definitely was noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, even little things like reversing these cars, you know, when you put your foot on the gas, there's so much torque in them that you kind of catch yourself out a little bit. So it's almost like relearning how to drive again when you've got an electrified performance vehicle.
So who do you think this car is for? Like, thinking about what...
I can see 4. And I know there's a few guys and girls out there as well. You know what? It's for an aficionado. It's for someone that likes their performance cars. And to be fair, like it's not overstated. It's a subtle performance car. There are cars out there with, you know, three-story rear wings and guard clearances that don't work and negative camber that's impractical. So, you know, this is an understated vehicle for an executive that likes their cars, wants to have a squirt on the weekends, wants to take it to the track every now and again, but wants to travel in style. It's the private jet, if you will, of the automotive industry, and it's a good private jet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks for talking us through a bit of your history. It's I'm sure it's I've obviously known you for a little while, so I've been following your history, but I'm sure the audience is.
Well, hopefully it's not done yet. Hopefully it's going to continue, and there'll be a few more race wins. So
definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
No,
Thanks for your
we
time.
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Peter. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
I think we'll just do a. Have we got Ollie coming on
Brisbane.
or not?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it. Yeah, just
Cool.
say just thanks for